What's happening, graphic designers? Have you ever designed a t-shirt and sent it off to a screen printer only to get a reply back that there is some kind of a problem with the file? We've all had it happen to us. This episode is going to go over all of that. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 11 of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp, where in every episode, I take a fictitious logo that I designed in my previous series, Logo Design Bootcamp, and I create some kind of a graphic design layout for that logo to now be a part of. And in every episode, you learn a totally different skill set. So by the time this entire series ends, you'll have over 20 different types of random designs that you'll be able to fulfill for a client. Now, if we go back to Logo Design Bootcamp episode number 11, I designed a logo for a social media company called Kreative Kangaroo. Now, what I decided to do for this logo was I decided to clean it up just a touch and design a front and a back of a t-shirt. Simple design, but more importantly than the design itself, it's how you actually set up the design so when it's sent off to a screen printer, you do not have any issues. And that's what you're going to learn in this tutorial. The best part of this entire series is that you can click this button right here and download the files that I'm using side by side, so you can design right next to the files and see basically the way that I do things, which is only the ways that I've learned from the ways other people do things. So let me jump into critiquing this piece real quick, and then I'll wrap up at the end. Okay, so what we have on screen here is two different artboards, which I'm going to show you how to set up. The one on the left is the front of the t-shirt, and the one on the right is the back of the t-shirt. Now, the size of these artboards are 10 by 10, and the reason they're 10 by 10 is most of the screen printers I work with, that's a general size of what they call a full front or a full back, and that's going to be, I guess depending on the size of the t-shirt, that size pretty much usually works for all. So, what you're going to want to know prior to designing this, obviously when you design a t-shirt for somebody, you're going to want to incorporate the same colors of their logos, of course, or whatever they're designing, whatever colors they want. But you also need to contact the screen printer because there may be certain colors that are more expensive than other colors, or there may be only certain colors that they use that no matter what you pay or no matter what you say, they're not going to make a specific color that you want. So you need to find that out. Most likely they have a book you can look at and match up to your colors already, but you want to have that ironed out in the beginning, so when you send this to your screen printer, you can say, hey, the green on the top is going to be, whatever number green, and and vice versa on every other color. So in this tutorial, you're going to be learning how to do separations of colors at the end. You're going to learn how to set up these artboards, and you're going to learn how to take colors and create them either from using Pantone colors or just taking one color that you like and converting it to a spot color, so when you save it, it's not saved as CMYK. And I'll explain that in the tutorial. So let's jump into Adobe Illustrator CS6, and I'll show you how to build this thing. The very first thing I am going to do is I am going to show you how to set up the new document. You want to go to File, New in Adobe Illustrator, and you want to make, name this whatever you'd like to name it, and make a number of artboards 2. It doesn't matter which order you have them in. We're going to move them in a second. And we're going to, I guess this is the spacing between the artboards. I have it like 30 pixels right now. We'll see what that looks like. The size, we're going to change that to inches right now. And we're going to make it 10 inches by 10 inches. Like I said prior. The screen printers that I work with, they usually say, 10 by 10 is a pretty good size. That's how I design it. So if I need to scale it up, it's going to be very simple to resave that when scaling up later on. Advanced, you want to change your color mode to CMYK, and you're going to want to hit OK. Okay. So now we're in our new document. Let me jump back into my old document real quick, and I'm going to just pull this all so I can have a reference. Just going to kind of put this right up here. All right, cool. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, because I don't like my artboards so close together, I like my designs to kind of be separate a little bit, is you're either going to come up here to Document Setup, you're going to come down here to, Artboards, or you can go to File, Document Setup. And then when you're in Document Setup, go to Edit Artboards. So that's basically 3 different ways you can get to that one place. And you're going to move this artboard over, and while you move it, hold shift, because then you can have it go all over the place. So if you hold shift, just like everything else, moving a regular selection, it'll stay right in line. Now you're just going to have to click on your arrow to get off. All right. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get the Kreative Kangaroo logo if you're following this side by side right now, and you're going to be utilizing certain things in there. Now I want to, what I want to do is I want to find a green. All right, I'm going to come into my green right over here right now, and if you see what happens, just any random green, you're going to see when I click on the green in my swatches. And if you don't have swatches there, you're going to want to click this down arrow, go to Open Swatch Library. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to, I'll show you where to find Pantones later, but you can go to Default Swatches and go to Print. And that'll bring you basically all these. So if you click on a color, you're going to see the color window right above it says CMYK. It shows you values of all four. Now that's going to be a problem later when you're sending it to a screen printer, and they need that to be one specific color. Now, if you have CMYK in there, now it's not like they're and I'm not huge on the screen printing process, but I've known a little bit about it. They need it to be separate into its own color. There are other processes that print full color, like you've seen pictures and stuff like that on t-shirts, but that is not what this tutorial is about. So I'm going to find a green. That's a pretty close green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this into my swatches, and I basically pulled it into my swatches as a new swatch in a way. I actually didn't make any changes to the levels up here, but what you want to now do is you want to double click, and in here you want to change the color type to spot color. Now you're going to hit OK. If you see what happens now, the color up here, it doesn't say CMYK anymore. It says either 100%, or if you lower this, a screen of that. So that is how you convert a color that you like into a spot color. I'm going to do the same thing with this orange in the top right corner. I'm going to click it. It's going to come up here. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to double click it now, go to color type and hit spot color. Now we have our colors set for this tutorial. And actually, let's see, the last one, I'm going to take a black and put the black in here. But with the black, what you want to do is you can convert it to the spot color, or you can just simply take your yellow, magenta, and cyan down and make sure your black is at 100%. So later on, like I said, and I'll change the colors later on to show you what would happen if something did not go right. So now let's start making the type. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come up to our type tool, and we're going to type out the word hop, all in caps, and we're going to hit escape. When you hit escape, that ends the selection, so now you can alter it. And we're going to change that font to Bauhaus 93. I think that's a pretty general font. Comes on a Mac and a PC. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type out the word up, all in caps, and I'm going to shrink it a little bit. Scoot it over from that H, and I'm going to now type in to the in all lowercase. And yes, it did take some time to come up with this concept, so but I'm running through it very quickly now. And the last thing I'm going to do is excuse me, what I've been doing here is I've been rushing. When you click on a text box, instead of continually going up to text box and clicking, what you want to do is select a text box, hold down Option, click and shift, and hold Shift, and you're going to shift it down so it stays in line. That's why you hold Shift. And now you basically copy that selection. So guess what? If I want to make 10 text boxes, you see how quickly that is, as opposed to 1, hitting Escape, 2, hitting Escape. So you get my drift. So let me back up, and I'm going to change this to the word top. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to have some fun. We're going to, well, that was more of what I was doing here, was having fun earlier, trying to place things around. But my whole thing was to make it look like this kangaroo is jumping all over the place, but really jumping to the top. And what the top is, the top can mean many things. The top of a search engine, the top of the list, the top of, the top 10 blogs, all this type of stuff. So we're going to now take the word to and the, and we're going to change it into our other font, which I have no clue what it is. So let me figure this out and I'll tell you what it is. I come over here to my other document, some other things I was playing around with in here. To the, all right, all right, that was cool. All right, it is a font that I found on the internet. It's called Great Vibes. Cool, there it is. All right, so I'm going to scale this up a little bit so the isn't hanging out too much from the edge. It's kind of like contained within there. And I'm going to leave up and to the in black. And I'm now going to come up into, actually, let's take this kangaroo first. Take the kangaroo from the logo. And you want to, if the logo is all grouped, you can either ungroup the entire logo, or we can zoom in here. We can select the kangaroo. Actually, you know what? Let's not do this because these are really small shapes. What I want to do is I'm going to ungroup this entire thing. I'm going to right click and hit ungroup, or go to object, ungroup. There you go. Shift Command G. And you're going to now select the kangaroo and these 4 things that are below the kangaroo. His little motion type of lines. You know, that shows that he's jumping up in the air. And I'm going to just paste them right over here for a second. And we're going to take this word hop and we're going to change it to that green that we made before. And we're now going to take the word top and we're going to change it to that orange that we made. So now we have hop up to the top, and we're going to start putting stuff on top. All right. I'm now going to take my kangaroo and I'm going to scale him up a little bit. I'm holding Shift and Option right now, because if I hold Shift, it'll keep it in proportion. And Option will do it right from the center point. You see how it's coming out from the center point right there? I'm going to move this guy up. Actually angled him a little bit different in here. He's actually a big boy, so let's make him a little bit larger. So his lower back goes above the O, or yeah, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to take these 3 lines, 1, 2, 4 lines, and I'm going to now put them down here. Going to scale them up, and I'm going to turn them white. And what's cool is we really don't have to use a pathfinder right now, because the white, when we save for separations later, it'll automatically detect the white on it, and I'll explain it all later. What I want to do is get this a little bit thicker, so you can either do that by adding a stroke on it or going to Object, Path, Offset Path. So, hey, let's do the offset path right now, see what happens. I'm going to preview it. I don't like that at all. It's way too much. And I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to hit OK. And if you look, we're going to back up and we're going to go forward again. Cool, right? I'm going to back up and now add a stroke on it. See the difference? If I add a stroke on it, it's going to keep the points at the end. So sometimes you need to determine which way you want to do things, and you don't know until you experiment. So that's why design takes so long sometimes. It's all experimentation. Let's see, how did I have this? All right, cool. What I want to do now is I want to take this kangaroo and I'm going to Command C, copy, and I'm going to Command B, paste in back. And without clicking off of anything, I'm going to make the stroke white, and I'm going to make the weight of the stroke a little bit more. Now, yes, I know I can do this through my appearance palette, but as I always say, I don't like to use the appearance palette for certain things. I feel like I can breeze through the designs a little bit more, copying and pasting real quick. So basically what I did was I made the kangaroo twice. Here's the original, and here's the second one right behind it with a white stroke. See, what happens is if you take this kangaroo and you move him over here and we put a white stroke on him, watch what's going to happen. The more I make that stroke, the thinner he gets. So it actually eats up the actual selection. I'm going to back up. I'm going to get him back to where he was, or she was, excuse me. I don't know if it's a male or a female. And let's see. Zoom out of here a little bit and figure out what I want to do next. All right. I'm going to make that stroke maybe 1 point bigger. And the way that I do that is if I need to get to that back one, what you want to do is you select the first one and you go to Command 2. And it locks that selection. So you can't move that black anymore. If I move this, you see how it's just moving the white one now? You want to now come in here and make your stroke a little bit heavier. to your liking. And now go to Object, Unlock All, which I actually did through the keyboard command, which I believe is Shift Command 2. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to take an ellipse and I want to make the ellipse black. I'm now going to go to Option Click and I'm going to shift that another ellipse over. I'm basically copying on top, and I'm going to come to my fill or hit X on the keyboard. You see how they switch right there? And I'm going to put white in there. And now you see basically all I'm doing is I'm kind of getting a preview of what's going to happen when I use my Pathfinder in a second. If I move this circle around, it's basically a white circle on top of a black. So I'm just trying to see the shape I'm going to get as I move this around and as I squeeze this up. What's the shape that's going to come out when I cut this out from itself? I'm looking for something that's obviously curved like this, not too fat, not too skinny. Something like that works pretty good right there. All right, so now I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to come into my Pathfinder, and you're going to hit the one from the top left, two in from the top left. It's the minus front, so I'm basically minusing the front from what was in the back. You're now going to want to take this piece right here, and you're going to want to go and start to figure out where you want them. So I'm going to have this go around the U like I did, and I'm going to have it basically just about touches that O. Next one I'm going to do is I'm going to Option Click Shift, where I just copied it down, and now I'm going to just, if you hover by the corner, you see these this little rotate thing comes right there. I'm now going to put this, I wanted it to go through the U and through the O. So I'm now going to grab this corner point, hold Shift, and I'm scaling this up right now. It actually goes through the U, the P, and into the middle of the O. I purposely did that because the final one, which I'm going to Option Click Shift from the original, is going to go right into that center point too. The center of the O, excuse me. And it goes into the P a little bit. I'm now going to scale this down a little bit, maybe even stretch it a little bit, make it look a little bit different from the others, and instead of it just being this similar or the same exact, excuse me. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to click all three of these, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go to Command G. I'm going to group them. And I'm now going to go to Command C. I'm going to copy it just like this kangaroo before. We're going to go to Command B, paste it in back of itself, and you're going to now hit X to jump to your stroke. X toggles these fill and strokes over here. I'm going to fill the stroke with white, and I'm going to make the weight a little bit larger, you know. I'm going to make sure my corner cap is rounded, and let's see, am I happy with that? Yes, I'm actually pretty happy with that. Now, what's cool is I'm going to now take all three of these. Let's see, right here, if I take this point, I basically grabbed 1, 2, 3 black and the 1, 2, 3 white with the strokes behind it. So you're not going to want to Command G and group all those in case you need to, you know, move them later on for whatever reason. What we're going to do now is we're going to make this little effect that's going on top of the word hop and the word top, which is basically part of the logo, the branding, these kind of ticks that are going above the top. So what you want to do is you want to come into your rectangle tool, and we're going to make a rectangle very, very simply with no stroke on it. So let's move over here. I'll scale this around a little bit. I'm now going to go to Option Click, and I'm going to shift this to the right, and I'm going to now just hit Command D, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. I'm now going to take this entire thing and go to Option Click. I'm going to shift it down just by eyesight. This is how you do this stuff very quick. And then we're going to now go to Command D, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Who knows? Let's see, 10 rows. Actually, not. Let me take one row off. All right, now we're going to take this entire selection. We're going to go to Command G. What we're now going to do is we're going to come into our gradient, and we're going to just hit gradient and see what happens. And nothing happened because it made the gradient on the stroke, which is what we don't want. What you're going to do here is you're going to swap out the gradient, and you're going to fill this with none by hitting that little red thing right there. And we're now going to take this gradient, and we're going to make sure it's white and white on each side. So you're just going to take white, and you're going to drop it where the black was, and you're going to click either one of these whites, doesn't really matter. And you're now going to change the opacity of that to 0. And once again, I am on my stroke. So I'm going to get off my stroke, come into my gradient, and do that all over again. We're now going to click that one again, and we're going to make it 0. So what we're going to do now is, yes, we do have it grouped like we did before. I'm going to scale this down. I'm going to hold Shift while I'm doing it. And I'm going to lay this right over here. Obviously, it's on top, so we don't need to worry about that. I'm going to shift this down a little bit more, like that high. And we're now going to come into our gradient, and we're going to, from the top to the bottom, hold Shift while you're doing it, you're going to get a nice little gradient going on. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to come into our transparency and change it to 40. Now, depending on the way that your screen printer does things, I don't know if they're going to run into an issue, so you're definitely going to want to check with the transparencies on this with them, and but I don't think you're going to have an issue with it. All right, so now we're going to go to Option Click. We're going to shift that over. We're going to hit Command D over and over till we get to the end of this, and we're now going to do the same thing right down here. We're going to go to Option Click, Shift, and move one over, and hit Command D a few times till we get past the rest of that P. And now we have Hop to the top. All right, I'm going to move this down a little bit, because then again we have that 10-inch area, which you definitely want to try and utilize as much of that as possible. We're now going to take this black part right here. We're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, because I noticed that those blocks were on top of it. And we're now going to take this entire selection, and we're going to go to Shift Command O on our keyboard to create outlines on the HOP, on all the words basically. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this selection, and we're going to go to hold Shift, and we're going to click on each one across the board. And same down here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I'm going to go to Command G, and I'm now going to go to Object Lock Selection, or Command 2. And I'm going to show you why in a second. Well, actually, I'm going to show you why right now. We're going to now select everything that's on our canvas, and we're going to go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And we're now going to make sure the joins are rounded, and we're going to hit Preview. And basically what we're doing is we're taking the entire path of everything, and we're just having it expand a little bit. It's offsetting, it's getting larger. I'll show you why in a second. I'm having it offset 1/8 of an inch, or 0.125, and we're going to now hit OK. What we're going to do now is we're going to come into our Pathfinder. I'm going to move this down, and we're going to come into Shape Modes at the top left and hit Unite. And now you're going to take this black fill, and you're going to swap it as the stroke, which is going to be, it looks pretty cool now. I'm now going to take my stroke, and I'm going to turn it into that orange color. And now we have hop up to the top with our stroke, and I'm going to make the stroke a little bit thicker. Let's see. All right. What you want to do is you want to make sure your limit over here is down. It's miter limit or whatever it's called. So you don't have these, you'll have, if I back up, you're going to see what you see these little points that are coming out of here. I didn't want them on that, so that's why I did that. And let's see, am I missing anything? I just went to Object, Unlock All, Shift Command 2. You can move these boxes around a little bit if you feel like you need to. Let's see. All right, this side is done. So let's move on to the next side, which the next side is very simple. You're just going to take your Kreative Kangaroo logo, and if you don't know how to design it, you're going to design it in our Logo Design Bootcamp tutorial, and we're just going to move this up here, down here for a little bit for right now. And I actually changed some colors based on the last logo. I made them single colors as opposed to gradients because that's going to be better for print in the end, of course. And the last thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to the internet and type out QR. I think it's qrstuff.com. Let's try that. There it is. I like this website. So you can do all types of data that your QR code goes to. So put in your website URL, whatever you put in here, and you're going to come up with a QR code. You're going to download that QR code. And when you download that QR code, it is now going to be on your desktop or wherever you specify. You're going to drag that into your document. Okay? We're now going to take this QR code and we're going to come up to image trace, or you can click this little arrow down here. Actually, no, excuse me. Let's just do image trace. And then we're going to hit expand up here. And I'm going to show you a trick. Well, not a trick, but you might run into some problems saying, hey, why is I'm having so many problems? You're going to take a rectangle and you're going to place it over this whole thing. Say you fill it with any color. We're going to fill it with red for now. We're now going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. What you want to do now is you want to hit A on your keyboard to get your direct selection up. You're going to click this white background and we're going to delete. Now, if you see what happens is it doesn't delete all this because when you do the image trace, it's a little bit funky sometimes. So now you got to, with your direct selection, keep selecting these areas of white. And yes, you can come up to, you can select one and go to Select Same Fill Color. I'll select all the white here, but let me just see, did I delete any other white in my document? No, okay, cool. All right, so now we're going to delete this red box and we're going to take this, this piece right here and let's see. We're going to now fill this with that green. And we're going to come up here and make sure the reference point is right in the center. And we're going to make our x-axis 5 because this is a 10-inch document. And now we know that's definitely 100% centered. And that QR code goes to my blog, graphicdesignertips.com. And the final thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the separations preview manager. And we're going to then save this thing out. But what you want to do here is you want to come up to Windows, Separations Preview. And what you want to do is you want to basically click on, let's see, how do we do this in here? We're going to do Overprint Preview. And you're going to want to obviously take your CMYK out of here. Let's see what happens. All right, some things disappear. Now, this is a really good thing. Now, what is disappearing in here? None of the green and none of the orange, but all the black. And the reason is because the black is not 100% black. I did make that swatch earlier, but I did not use it when I filled this in here. So what you want to do is you want to basically select this kangaroo right here, go to Select Same Fill Color, hoping that everything is the same fill color throughout the whole piece, and it's not. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to hit A on our keyboard and click every piece of black. So we're going to click there. We're going to hit Shift and click each piece. So the U, the P, the T, every part of these fonts right now. That's why if you don't plan correctly in the beginning, it's a little bit of extra work at the end, which is fine. All right, let's get our 100% black in here. Make that 100%. We're going to come up to kangaroo, the word kangaroo over here. Do the same thing. Okay, now this is going to be tricky. We got to really zoom in here. 1, 2, because these are shapes. You don't want to click the outside of the shape. Like I think I just did. Did I? Yep. Okay, cool. Select it again. We're now going to come into .NET, and these are now shapes. They're no longer fonts because you outline them. And we're going to change that all to black. I'm going to do the word social media firm last. Let's see what happens here. Social media firm. Cool. All right, so now I'm zooming out. Delete that old stuff, the reference stuff. So now I can just look at the stuff that we designed in here. I'm now going to take CMYK off. Why did that go off again? All right, something got screwy here. Something screwy. Okay. Oh, because I was taking my black off. All right, now I'm going crazy. Prior to that, it was because there was cyan and magenta and yellow in it. So now if we just turn off our black, you're going to see, okay, our black is all black. Everything is correct. We're going to now come into our orange. And the reason that the orange in the logo up here is not coming out is because of the fact that in the old document that I referenced, I just copied this from, I used a slightly different orange. So that's okay. We're just going to select this banner right back here. We're going to change it to our new orange. And we're going to, we're basically going to select, we're going to have to ungroup this entire piece. We're going to select all these pieces, all these little gradients right here. And I'm going to come into my gradient. I'm going to change that orange to this orange right here by going like so. And if we go back to our separations preview, I guarantee you, there it goes. All right, all the orange disappears, and now all, let's see, we're going to have the same problem with that green. All right, so I'm just going to take this green and the word creative, and I'm going to change it to our new green. See what happens if we turn it off. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to save this for print. Now, what I have heard a lot of screen printers do is, or designers do, is they actually will take a line and they'll, you know, copy one on top of itself and rotate it and make their own little registration marks throughout the piece. So they'll do one here, you know, maybe one here and one down over here. Okay, but what you can do is, now I'm having an issue right now with, and I'll show you in a second, where I would actually have to do those 4 up just like I did. I'd have to do them in black, I'd have to do them in green, I have to do them in orange, all on top of each other. It's strange, but I'll show you what's happening. Basically, if I go to File, Print, and I select, you're going to want to select your printer, either Adobe PostScript file or Adobe PDF, which is really what you want. On mine, I have to fit it to page, because if I don't scale and I do a custom and I try to make it 10 by 10, it's not letting me go over 8.5 because it knows my printer cannot do that. So that's why the Adobe PDF option, that's not in on my version of, I mean, I'm at Apple Mac 10.7 right now. That's very, you know, that's very high, but I guess 10.6 and up, it does not allow you. So we're just going to fit this to page so you see how to do it. We're going to now come into marks and bleeds, make sure your trim marks and registration marks are on. You're going to see if I turn them off, they disappear. We're now going to go to output. Make sure that separations, it's always on composite. Make sure it's on separations and uncheck cyan, magenta, and yellow. And now you're going to hit OK, and we're just going to name this SEPs, separations. And I'm going to save this to my desktop for right now. Let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So here's our separated file with the check marks on it. Here's our black, our orange, and our green. And here's our logo, our black, orange, and green. And strangely enough, it rotated the second side. So it was something in my options, in my printer options, that I rotated side 2. But that's it. I would encourage anybody who works in screen printing to fill us in with, your ways of doing things if you have a different version, a way of doing things. And that is it for this tutorial. All right, so thanks for checking out another episode of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp. We're not even halfway through the series yet, and I have a ton of things planned for the rest of the series, meaning that every episode is going to be a totally different type of a design. So by the end of this series, you're going to know how to design at least 26 different types of design, which is going to be really cool. So if you like what you see in this video and you learned something, leave a comment below. Hit the like button and share it out on your social networks. Very important. Definitely appreciate it. A lot of work goes into these videos. And hit the subscribe button above, and you'll get these in your email before pretty much everybody else knows about them, unless they're searching for them or waiting for them. Also, here's a couple other videos from the series. And like I always ask at the end of the video, take the challenge. The challenge is to take the files that I have provided to you, to change them up a little bit, do your own design with the vectors that I have provided to you, to show other artists different ways of laying stuff out. So for this one, do a different t-shirt design and maybe, do a quick write-up about it, and I'll shoot it out on my social networks. And that's really it. So like I said, comment below, and if you have any ideas for future videos, definitely let me know also in the comments, and I will see you next week for episode number 12. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.